How is training kids different from training adults? Every single time a kid walks through your door, they could be different mentally, emotionally, and physically from the time that they were before. Whereas adults are, generally speaking, mentally stable, emotionally stable, and they've got the same body that they came in with, the week prior. Kids might go through a growth spurt and 1 week later be 2 inches taller than they were the week before. And now all of a sudden they don't know where their body is in space.
So my name is Jeff Martin. I'm the founder of the Brand X Method along with my wife, Mickey. And my athletic career, through high school I swam, played water polo, played through college. My first coaching job was a water polo and a swimming coach. Got into martial arts early in my life, 13 years old. Kind of followed that path all the way to really now when I'm almost 60. And but worked with kids in the martial arts quite a bit. And we opened up our own martial arts school, Brand X, in 1999. And we had really large kids classes, 35 to 50 kids. And as we started getting into functional fitness, that's kind of the kids the kids were the ones who wanted to be involved with that. So we started down that path of finding out how to best serve the kids we were working with.
My name's Keegan Martin. I am the middle son of Jeff and Mickey Martin, who were the developers of CrossFit Kids, but also the founders of the Brand X Method. So as their middle child, I kind of had the opportunity to work with them and see the program grow. So I started functional fitness when I was 10 years old and competed in that for quite a long time, and then switched over to powerlifting and have been competitive in that sport for a while now. So if we're talking the importance for the Brand X Method to athletics, 100%. And the reason is we teach kids not only to be safe in sport, but we actually bring about their full potential inside of sport. If you focus on sport only, you're opening yourself up for overuse injuries, and you're truncating your ability to go further inside of that sport. If you practice only soccer 365 days out of the year, yeah, you might be a good soccer player, right? But you're never actually getting faster, stronger, more agile, more accurate, right? Your coordination might not even get better. So all of those things come into play in terms of developing an athlete. When you look at general physical skills, we put strength as a base, and mastering movement patterns or motor skills, as we call them, movement skills, we put that at the base, right? And mastering those basics. And if we can get kids really, really good at those basics, then they have the potential to be different soccer players. Not just better, but completely different in terms of their strength, their agility, their coordination, their balance, everything, right? They're able to go further inside of their sport.
I heard once that strength is never a weakness. And we feel really strongly that there's the base of of athleticism is moving well and being strong. And I think that's the basis of what Brand X Method is. We teach kids how to move well, and then we teach them to get really strong.
So how is training kids different from training adults? Every single time a kid walks through your door, they could be different mentally, emotionally, and physically from the time that they were before. Whereas adults are, generally speaking, mentally stable, emotionally stable, and they've got the same body that they came in with, the week prior. Kids might go through a growth spurt and 1 week later be 2 inches taller than they were the week before. And now all of a sudden they don't know where their body is in space. From a physiological standpoint, it could be completely different in terms of the tools, the cues, everything in terms of how you communicate what you want them to do. Could be completely different. The positions could be completely different than an adult position. And I think taking a poorly designed adult program and just simply trying to apply that to children is one of the worst things that you could possibly do, because you're not taking into account developmentally what kids need. And that's really where we excel, is going, this is the developmental stage that a child is in, and this is what's going to be perfect in terms of their training. Kids like to play. So when, as a coach, you're trying to motivate a child to move more, motivate them by introducing play. So we utilize games quite a bit. kids like to play with their peers, and their peers can also be a huge part in terms of their motivation to move. You know, if they don't have any friends inside of the class, then they're less likely to get involved and want to move. So having some friends and some peers that are around their same age and their same development really helps a lot too.
Play and fun change over time. So play in a kid's in an express class, a kid's 3 to 5 years old, let's say. We might do our little movement play where they're running around, like we'll have a little obstacle course, and we end it with a game. And so it might be duck, duck, goose. They play duck, duck, goose, and if you get tagged, you got to go in the middle and do 2 squats, and then that's a game for them, and that's fun, and they want to play that. But you do that with my teenagers, and they're going like, I don't want to play duck, duck, goose. That's kind of stupid, right? So, but we might have with the older kids, we might give them challenges. Like I might say, set up the gym here and say, okay, I want you to go around the gym without touching the ground. And so, they're hanging and they're jumping from one thing to the next, and that may be a challenge that kids find fun. We might set up a game. We had one we called hillbilly basketball, where they had like a 4-pound medicine ball, divide the class up into teams. And the object of the game was that to shoot a ball into a basket. You turned over jump boxes, and there'd be one rule when we start, and that is if the ball hits the ground, it changes teams. So they've got to kind of decide on what the games are or what the rules are. They've got to learn to work as a team, and that's a game that the teenager might find fun or play. At the end of our class, older kids class.
No, that's honestly, that's probably one of the most frustrating things that you can hear as a coach, especially knowing that it's not true, But that it is a myth, and it started with some really questionable science, where the science literally was measuring people's height and asking them if they lifted heavy weight. That was the science that went into that. But now people are afraid, and they throw around the term like growth plate injuries. Growth plate injuries are what cause, that weightlifting causes growth plate injuries. First off, epiphyseal plate fractures or growth plate injuries are caused by acute injury. They're not caused by repetitive stress. So repetitive motion over and over again, or something like weightlifting, doing squats or deadlifts or bench press, it's not going to cause an epiphyseal plate fracture. It happens from acute trauma, so like falling down the stairs or like a car crash, something like that, right? That affects the growth of a child. But weightlifting, actually, there was a study that was done from 1976 to 1990, so across 14 years. And they looked at medical records inside of the US, the number of injuries that happened from weightlifting to epiphyseal plates, so growth plates. And what they found was that there were 6. So 6 injuries across those 14 years inside of the US due to weightlifting. All of those injuries happened unsupervised and with unknown load. So it was a child that didn't have any idea how much weight they were lifting, and they were completely unsupervised. All of those injuries happened from either doing a military press or a bench press. So starting with the bar over your head or starting with it over your body. So you can imagine the scenario where a kid doesn't know how much weight they're lifting, completely unsupervised, having a weight come crashing down on them, right? Usually this type of opposition to training with kids has to be met with facts, and it's got to be met with education for parents. So just kind of explaining what an epiphyseal plate fracture actually is and how it's caused, and then meeting it with, here's all the statistics, here's all the studies that show that weight training is actually good for kids. There's a statement that the American Academy of Pediatrics actually released where they said, it was about 5 years ago now they released it, and they said that resistance training or weight training for kids is not only beneficial, or it's not only safe, but it's also beneficial to keep them safe inside of their sport.
They hurry the basics. Like the basics take years, the basics get revisited constantly. Person squats, so if you have a 12-year-old squatting, even if they squat beautifully, they've been with you for 5 years, that 12-year-old can go through a growth spurt. when they go through the growth spurts, you've got to be aware of that, developmentally appropriate because you've been trained to that, and then you've got to back off the weights and help them regain their movement pattern, and then you can start to load them up again. We see a rush to weight, a focus on the extrinsic, the end load. Did you lift the load? Well, when we're training with kids, we're not competing. So the fact that the kid stood up with a crappy 300-pound squat means nothing to me, right? That he probably couldn't squat 305. That your kid is squatting well with 225 is what we're looking at.
I worked with a kid that he didn't have really the best support from home. He had a dad that really, really wanted him to excel in sport, but this kid, he could barely tie his shoes. And dad thought he was going to be the next great, football player. So he's paying for him to go to this private school and, putting a lot of money into his personal training, he didn't really have that good support, that good family, oh, good job, son, you did great today. He didn't really have that support. It was always, there was something that he could do to do better, or he was overweight, or, it was always kind of, a negative experience for him when he left the gym. And being able to have a positive impact on that, knowing that, maybe I was the only positive impact that he got that day, that meant something. So it's more just kind of the day-to-day stuff that over time really compounds into being a really meaningful experience. And yeah, there's those times, there's those triggers, right, where that 13-year-old kid will pull that 300 pounds and you can visually see that's a shift in his entire trajectory of his life. If they want to be a kid's coach, then they start online. It's our PYCC course. They can find that at thebrandxmethod.com. So you scroll on the little menu on the right-hand side. You've got live seminars and you've got the online course. The online course is the one to start with. It's a professional youth coaches course, and that walks you through everything that you need to know for the principles of the Brand X method, what we're all about. So that's where they start. If it's a parent looking for bringing their kids to a training center, we've got a training center map on our website too. So they can go on thebrandxmethod.com, see if we've got one in your area. If we don't, then you can contact us and look into programming from one of those training centers so that you can coach your kid, or look at becoming a coach yourself.
There's also the pathway to becoming a training center if you're an owner of a gym.
Yep.
And you can go to our website, thebrandxmethod.com, and go under training centers and read about it. Contact us. We'd be happy to schedule a call. We're very approachable, believe it or not. You can schedule a call. We'll get a Zoom call together and just walk you through training. Why you should be involved in the PYCC. Why you should. What are the pros of becoming a training center. That's kind of the basics of how to get involved with us.